Imagine you're standing outside early in the morning. A normal day. The air is calm. The sky has that soft golden glow. People are walking to work. Cars are rushing down the road. Everything feels perfectly ordinary. And then, something happens. Something so silent, so sudden, so impossible, that no one even understands it in the first second. The earth stopped spinning. No warning. No slowdown. Just stopped. But here's the terrifying part. While the earth stops, absolutely nothing else does. Not the oceans, not the air, not the atmosphere, not the objects on earth, and not even you. Everything that ISNT physically wrote deep inside solid bedrock continues moving at the same speed. Earth was originally spinning 1,670 kilometers per hour at the equator. The world instantly transforms into a high-speed disaster. For the first 2 seconds, humanity doesn't scream, because it doesn't even get time to. Cars lift off the ground horizontally like bullets. People are thrown hundreds of meters into the air without understanding what hit them. Buildings twist and crack under unimaginable force. Trees are ripped from the soil. Traffic signs fly like metal knives. Windows explode outward, and the ground vibrates like a speaker pushed to maximum volume. It doesn't look like an earthquake. It looks like the earth is trying to fling everything off itself. But here's the strange twist. Not everyone dies in the first few seconds. If you live near the equator, South America, Africa, India, Southeast Asia, you face the full force of 1,670 kilometers per hour inertia. But if you live near the North Pole or the South Pole, something weird happens. You barely feel anything. The rotational speed near the poles is almost zero. Someone sitting in a research station in Antarctica might just feel a small jerk, like a shelf shaking during a minor tremor, while billions of people closer to the equator get launched into oblivion. Imagine being one of those few who survive simply because of where you live, sitting in the frozen silence of the poles, not knowing that the rest of the world has just been ripped apart. But the nightmare is not finished. It has just started breathing. Within minutes, the atmosphere becomes the next killer. The air was also moving at the same speed as Earth's rotation. But now that the ground has stopped, the atmosphere doesn't. So the winds don't blow at 50 kilometers per hour, or 100, or even 200. The winds blow at 1,700 kilometers per hour, fast enough to cut through steel, fast enough to strip the flesh off bones, fast enough to lift oceans from their basins and throw them sideways like tsunami walls. Entire coastlines disappear in minutes. Countries like Bangladesh, Japan, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, Pakistan's coastal belt are simply wiped off the map, replaced by water and debris. The sky turns brown as dust, sand, and shattered concrete fill the atmosphere. Birds vanish instantly. They can't even attempt to fly in winds like these. Planes drop out of the sky because the air itself behaves like a liquid river flowing sideways. Power grids collapse worldwide. Communication stops. Satellites begin malfunctioning because the turbulence in the upper atmosphere increases drastically. But here comes the next twist. After a few hours, the atmosphere starts slowing down. Not because it wants to, but because friction with the ground forces it. The deadly winds begin to weaken, not everywhere, but slowly. However, the destruction they cause leaves almost nothing behind. Entire cities are reduced to piles of debris stretching across kilometers. Oceans have moved inland. Mountains have been shaved flat. Forests are replaced by wastelands full of uprooted trees. The people near the poles still don't understand what's happening. They see the sky filled with dust. They feel the temperature dropping. They sense something massive has gone wrong, but the destruction is far away from them. For the moment, they are safe, but they have no idea their safe zone is temporary. Now let's talk about the strangest consequence of Earth stopping. Day and night die. Because the Earth is no longer spinning. One side of the planet faces the sun permanently. The other side is trapped in eternal night. Imagine standing in a place where the sun never sets, where sunlight beats down every second, heating the land until rivers boil and lakes evaporate. Temperatures rise above 150 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt car tires, hot enough to kill any kind of plant life, hot enough that stepping outside feels like stepping into an oven. Meanwhile, the night side becomes a planet of ice. Temperatures drop to 150 grados, bajo cero, colder than Antarctica, colder than dry ice. Oceans on the night side freeze into solid masses hundreds of meters thick. The sky remains dark forever, except for auroras caused by radiation from the sun. Because Earth's magnetic field has already begun collapsing. Yes, the magnetic field, the invisible shield that protects us from deadly solar radiation. You see, the magnetic field is powered by Earth's spinning iron core. Without the rotational motion, the magnetic field begins to flicker and fade, and as it weakens, solar particles start hitting Earth directly. This means sunlight becomes more dangerous than ever. Sunburn turns into radiation burns. Skin cancer rates shoot up instantly. Electronic devices die under the invisible assault of charged particles. Humans on the daylight side have no chance of surviving outside, even with suits. In just a few hours, Earth becomes a planet divided into two extreme worlds, one burning, one frozen, while a thin twilight strip between them becomes the only place where temperatures are somewhat tolerable. This narrow ring around the globe becomes the last hopeful zone for human survival. But even that hope is fragile, because more horrors are coming. The oceans begin shifting. Water naturally gathers around the equator because of centrifugal force. But now that Earth has stopped spinning, that force disappears. Water begins moving north and south, toward the poles. Slowly at first, then faster, then violently. Countries near the equator become deserts. Countries near the poles start drowning under rising sea levels. Canada, Russia, Norway, once cold and solid, turn into giant oceans, swallowing everything. And humanity, scattered, confused, hopeless, and fighting for survival.